Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Well guys, we're working on this little steam engine, trying to get it mounted up over here on this nice new wooden board that we're going to be displaying on, getting it off this old junky looking piece here. And we're going to be working on, first off, getting it off the stand, getting it installed on the stand, and then I've got a few little maintenance issues that we need to do to this engine to get it ready to run. It's been taken apart clean. My buddy Jim Bollinger down at Do Right Fab actually did all that. This is going to be exhibited at the Fab Tech event in 2018, and we're doing a little collaborative thing on this, and he has already done a lot of the work, but he kind of sent it back to me, needing to have a few little things left done to it, as well as getting it onto its new platform. So without further ado, let's get in here and start taking this thing off and getting it mounted over on the new piece. Well, what we have here is a little model steam engine, and I don't really know a lot of the history of this. I found this at a tool meet that I was at one time. It was an exhibitor there had it for sale. This is obviously a homemade kit that someone put together. Now, I have not been able to find any examples of these castings or a similar engine like this to kind of find out a little bit about its history. So I don't know if this was a one-off thing that someone did some castings and made a steam engine, or whether they bought a kit. I'm assuming it's a kit that someone bought. And I can tell you that they did a decent job putting it together. The machining on it isn't the greatest in the world, but hey, it works. So with that, you know, we're not going to try it. I'm not going to blast them too hard, but it probably, some of the fit and finish could probably have been better on this. But with that said, we're just going to get in here and get this piece taken off of this old crappy looking stand and get it over on the new one. And it looks like it's just held down with a couple of screws. So we'll just get in here and start pulling these apart. Wow, that's a long screw. All right. You know what? I think that there's actually a washer up under the bottom of this thing. I can feel it with my hand. So I'm going to hold on to the washer and pull this one out too. So I was thinking these were wood screws, but they're actually machine screws. So. Okay. There we go. One back here in the back. You can slide that off the table there. I know you guys can't see what I'm doing, but we're just unscrewing a screw. And that's got all these loose, and I think the last thing we got is just one screw on the bottom holding this one in, and I'm just going to tilt the whole thing up here, lay it over on its back, and unscrew that one. All right. And there you go. We have the steam engine broke loose. Let's see if we can kind of dry fit it over here on the new base. Okay, so we'll set these down on the appropriate pieces. It looks like I did my math right. We got just a little bit of clearance under that big flywheel, which is what we need. This can all kind of slide backwards. Yeah, I think we're going to put it on there something like this. So let me go off camera here. I'm going to do some measuring and try to get this thing where it needs to be, and we'll figure out where all these blocks need to be attached. I've done some measuring here. I've got my square out to make sure that these blocks and the engine and everything is square to the plate, and I've just taken a pencil and lightly kind of marked on here the position of where I want these blocks to go. And with that, I think what we're going to do is we're going to pull the steam engine off, and I need to go ahead and get these front two blocks mounted up. They're screwed in from above, so I need to get them positioned, and we're probably going to just take some wood screws and come in from the bottom to affix those to the everything. Now this plate over here, it actually has to screw into the engine from the bottom, so we're going to have to probably drill and countersink some holes in this piece of wood to screw in there, and then once that's done, we can screw this piece down to the board from the bottom. So let's go ahead and just lift the engine off and set it over here to the side. And I want to make sure I can see my marks. Yep, like I said, I just did that with some light pencil. You won't be able to see that when it's done, but I wanted to make sure I could get these back where they need to be, and yes, I can barely see those marks, so we're good to go. So to position these in place, like I said, I got some marks down here where they need to go, but I'm just going to use some super glue to hold this stuff in place. All I'm wanting to do here, this is not really for strength or anything like that. I just want these to be held in place so that I can manipulate this board around without having to worry about my position moving around. And then I can screw these in from the bottom. The strength from the holding it together is going to be the screw. If I can get some glue to come out of this thing. All right, let me get some fresh super glue. My glue had dried up on me, but fortunately I had some brand new stuff over here. So let's, there we go. This is just some super glue gel. And like I said, I just want to put enough on there to hold these in place while we're screwing it down. This is not a glue joint for strength. Okay, and grab my square. Make sure these are in line with one another. And they look good. Look good. Yeah, I think we're good there too. We'll let that super glue set up for a couple of minutes. Then I'm gonna flip this over. We'll drill and countersink some screw holes from the bottom. All right, I did some measuring to find out where these need to go. And 1.5 inches. I'm just gonna put a mark in 8 1/4. That should be right in the center of those two little pieces, and yeah, I'm just kind of verifying with my hands so I can feel it up underneath there. And then I need to be in, let's see, 4 1/4. So I need one right there, and 6 1/2. And these are, I got plenty of room. I'm not too worried about doing a super critical measurement on this. I'm gonna say 4 1/4 and 6 1/2. Okay. And I'm just going to use a little drill with a countersink here. We'll go ahead and put those in and then zip some screws in. Let me grab my drill. So we'll come in here, get right on that hole. This drill's a little pilot hole for that screw to go down. And I got it going kind of long, so I'm going to kind of do it in a couple of steps here, clean those chips out. And then that countersinks that screw head in there as well. I'll do it on all 4 holes. Okay, and now we'll put our screw in. Okay, I like that. Those should be firmly held in place now. So as to mounting the steam engine, the cylinder and all that to the board, there's 2 tapped holes up underneath there. We have a screw that comes from the bottom and holds it in there. These are 1/4-20 threads, and basically I need to attach this block to the bottom. So we're going to have to take some screws, some threaded, not wood screws, but machine screws, 1/4-20 machine screws, or I'm probably going to use cap head screws in this case, through the block and into here. And what I need to do is I need to find where I need to drill my holes. And to do that, I'm going to use these little transfer screws. So these, if you're not familiar with them, they come in a little set, before I lose one here. They come in a little set, little container like this. You screw the back off and these all fit up in the tube here. But these are 1/4-20 thread, but in the very center there's a little center punch. And I use these mostly in metalworking, quite honestly, but they'll work in this wood as well. Now, right below that little center punch, there's a little hex in there, and this little tube that holds it has the matching hex, so you can kind of take that, put it in there, and that gives you a convenient thing to hold it in place and screw it in and unscrew it. So I'm going to screw it where it'll just be sticking out. I don't want it to be too deep. Do the same thing on the other side. There we go. And now what I'm going to do is we'll put this block over here on the piece where it's going to be. We'll get the front end position. We'll just come press this down, and that should leave me 2 holes that I can then drill off of. That'll be a perfect match to the center of the holes in the engine there. I've got my block just kind of laid where it's going to be, again using those little light pencil marks I put in there before. And we're going to come over here and we'll set the front end down on the pillow blocks that we put in here. And come back here in the back. Try and just get this centered up on that base pretty well. Very good. And all I'll do is just push down on this now. With this being wood, it shouldn't take a whole lot of pressure to transfer those screws over. So let me just pull it off now. And we've got 2 nice little dimples there where we need to drill that out. Set up over on the drill press now, and I've got the drill bit just above 1/4 inch, because that's the size of the threads or the screw going through there. And I'm just going to drill these 2 holes all the way through. And we'll just go in and find that center punch. There we go. All right. And these are the screws that we're going to use. Of course, they'll come up from the bottom, but that's nice clearance. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is we'll take our drill bit out of here. And what I've got here is called a counter bore. If you look, it has a pilot down here that will fit down in that hole we just drilled. But then it has a flat bottom to pull in, and it's going to create clearance for that socket cap screw that will just fit right down that flat shoulder in the bottom. These are made from metal, but they'll cut wood just fine. But let's go ahead and get this in here. Now for these, I want to go to a certain depth, and let's see, somewhere about right in there should give me, what I'm looking at is how much clearance I have threads from the bottom of that down. And this is just a, it's nothing precise. I just want to make sure I've got enough threads that's going to do there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the stop up here on my drill press so that it'll only go to that depth, and it'll stop. Of course, I don't have enough clearance, so I'm gonna have to drop my table down and redo this. All right. Yeah, that's gonna give me plenty of screw to go up in the bottom there. In fact, we might wanna. I got a 1-inch screw here. So basically you can see I'm gonna have about a 1/2 inch of that going into the part. So we'll go ahead now and run the counter board through here. Okay, that's the bottom. Now I'm going to drop my screw down through there, and you can see how much we have sticking out, which would be just right to hold that in place. So let's go put this on the steam engine. All right, so start out, I need to remove my little centering fixtures here. Put those back in here where they belong so we don't lose them. These, by the way, are made by Hyman Manufacturing, H-E-I-M-A-N-N, and you can get them in pretty much any thread size that you want. I've got a pretty good selection of these. There's still a few sizes I'm missing, but I got most of them, and these things come in handy all the time. All right, we got our block, we got our cap screws. I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. We'll get the first one started. And then I'll get my second one started. And tighten them both up. There we go. Getting ready to drill and screw in the screws from the bottom, and to do that I really kind of need to get under it. So I've got it kind of hanging out over the bench here. I've marked already the 2 places for my screws on this one. I'm not going to glue this one in place though, simply because at some point in time I may need to take that block off and be able to get to those screws that are up in the bottom, and if it's glued in place it's not going to be easy to do that. So no glue on this one, we'll just have a screw in there, and I'm going to come in here with my same drill and countersink as before, and we'll put that in there. Very good. That should hold it in place. We are continuing on, and I've been doing a little bit of plumbing here with some brass fittings and so forth, and got my valve put in going into the governor up here. This is basically will just be air that comes in. You could run this on steam. We're going to be running on air pressure, but it'll come in. I've just got a regular quick connect air pipe down here, or for an air line hose. Goes in up. We got a little globe valve. Just like the real McCoy, you can turn that on and regulate the amount of air or steam coming through there that feeds into the governor here, which will then start things up. So anyway, just did a little bit of plumbing there. I did all that off camera, and I got a little strap down here kind of holding all this together. But anyway, we're moving on. Now I think I need to go ahead and get my screws put in down here on this end, get those installed so that those back ends aren't going anywhere. For these, we're just using a regular brass screw. And we'll just go ahead and put these on in. Next thing for us to work on here is we need to adjust the valves on this thing, the timing, to get this thing where it works right. And before I do that, I want to open up this steam chest and let you guys take a look inside so you can kind of see how one of these double action steam engines work. And to be honest with you, this will be the first time I've been into this one. Jim had been in here when he was working on it and had already done some cleaning and what have you in here. But I'm kind of curious to see what we got inside this steam chest. All right, so let's get a little steam engine lesson 101 here. This is basically where everything's happening as far as the timing and the valves and all such goes. So steam comes up over through here. We got a valve that opens it up. It then goes into this governor, and the governor's job is basically to regulate the speed so that it runs at a constant speed. And the way it does that, there's a little valve inside of here. If you look at these balls, when you move them, see up here, that's moving a little valve up and down. Now right now the valve is all the way open. When the balls are down, the valve is all the way open. As the balls start swinging out, it closes the valve down. Okay, so the centrifugal force causes these balls to go out. The faster it goes, the farther out they go, the more it shuts it down. The slower it goes, the more it opens it up. So when you put the steam engine under a load, you know, the balls come in, opens up the valve, more steam comes in, balls go out. It's self-regulating is the bottom line there. Now, once the steam comes in, it just comes right into the top of this open chest right here. And this is a little slide valve in here, and I'm gonna reach my arm across, hopefully it won't get into the frame too much. I'm gonna turn the flywheel. And when I do that, you can see that the valve is moving back and forth. Okay, so right there, if you look back behind there, you can see a port opened up. That port that opens up opens the steam up and allows the steam to go into the top of the cylinder. When it does that, it pushes the cylinder down. And of course, when the cylinder gets pushed down, it gets to the bottom. It closes this valve up, it opens this one up here. And now the steam comes on that side and it pushes the cylinder back. This is a double acting steam engine. So for every revolution, you basically have two power strokes, one pushing this way, one pushing this way. It pushes on both sides of the piston. There's also another little valve, and you really can't see it in there, but it's opening and closing to let the exhaust out. So when one side opens up, it's on the back side of this little valve here. So basically whenever, like right now, it's over that port in the back, and it's basically coming up, and there's an exhaust port behind here. So that's what lets the steam out. So with the timing of this engine, what we want to do is we want to basically get the cylinder to top dead center. And when it's at top dead center, okay, we're at top dead center on this end down here, we want this hole over here to just be cracking open, so that it's starting to let some steam in. And of course, as that cylinder comes on around, it will open it on up. And it's the same thing, when it's at bottom dead center, you make the same adjustments. So some of this, what we basically do is we're going to start off by getting it closed. We'll close this thing up, put it on some air, and you fine tune it just by listening to it and feeling it, because where your ports are, it's going to be probably a little bit different on each steam engine, so there's really not like a certain measurement or something you can make to time a steam engine. But I wanted you to see this. The valve action here is run off of an eccentric over on the crankshaft, and we'll turn this thing around and let you take a look at that end down there. So I got you kind of looking down from the back side here. This is the crank pin, and of course that's your piston, so you got basically at bottom dead center and top dead center right there. Now if you look behind it, this rod back here is what's controlling the valve in there, and as you can see, it's on an eccentric or a cam. Eccentric is probably the right name, but what you can do is you can adjust this. There's actually a little Allen screw on this particular one. We loosen that up. Let me grab it and I'll show you. I can come in here. I just got it kind of thumb tight right now. We'll tighten that up tighter once we get it set, but now I can move this thing around. You see the eccentric's not moving. So we can make fine adjustments in here. So to start with, on a steam engine, when you're just basically starting from scratch and you want to you don't really know where it needs to be set. What you want to do is put your cylinder at top dead center or bottom dead center, it really doesn't matter. And then you want your eccentric to be timed where 90 degrees up is basically straight up and down. I can put this Allen wrench in there, and that should give me enough leverage to be able to adjust that. See, okay? And we want it to be roughly straight up and down, right there. Now, interesting fact, steam engines can be reversed, and the way you reverse it is you turn this eccentric. So basically right now, I'm not even sure which direction this is going to run, but if we wanted to run the opposite direction, we would turn that eccentric down, or probably the easiest thing to do would be for me to just roll the cylinder over to top dead center on the other side, and that's going to reverse the engine. And that just basically determines which side of the port gets open first. But we're going to start right here. We will just, I'm going to tighten that down. So now when I turn it, the eccentric is turning as well. I'm going to button up that steam chest. We're going to put some air on here, and we will start making adjustments. Got the air hooked up, and I haven't done any adjusting to the valves other than just by sight. So let's hear what it sounds like. I just barely turn it on. If you hear it, it sounds like it's exhausting more on one side than the other. So this is just going to be a little bit by trial and error here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just stop it. We will, I'm going to pull the up to top dead center. And I don't know which way to go. I'm just going to guess. I'm going to go back just a little bit, tighten it back down. I don't like that. I think it sounds worse. So I'm going to go the other way just a little bit. Let's try that. Yeah, that sounds... The exhaust sounds better, but now I'm hearing a knocking up here. I don't think we were hearing that before. Let me back off a little bit. Maybe it was knocking before. I'm going to take it back. I like that. I like the way it was sounding a while ago when I had this a little bit forward. All right, it sounds better, but there's something going on up here with the, up here. I'm not sure what. I'm gonna have to play around with this. You know, it looks to me almost like that this, wow. It looks to me like that we might have a bad nut right here. This thing is, when it's turning, I can see it. It's not square in there, and it's causing this pin to hit. So I may have to replace this nut or make a new nut or something. I'm not sure yet, but I think that's what's causing that. I think we've got this about as fine-tuned as I'm going to be able to do it here on short order. There are a few little issues in here, and Jim had told me that I don't know who built this. Like I said, I bought this already put together, and there's some pretty shoddy machining work in here, and really what needs to happen is I probably need to go through here and fix some of this stuff, but I don't have time to do that right now. So we're just going to have to take it as it is. It works. It's just, it could be a lot better. I think I got my timing set. We're still got a little bit of a knocking noise up here, and I'm not exactly sure what's going on. I think something's maybe just bent or something a little bit. I'm not sure, but anyway, there she goes. Need to play around with the governor a little bit. When it gets going real wide open, one of these balls comes out. I need to adjust it up just a little bit. That's an easy adjustment. But all in all, I think we're ready to go. So we're going to call this one a wrap. I hope you guys enjoyed a little bit on the steam engine, and I'm looking forward to having folks come in. We're going to talk about the steam engine while we're up at the Fab Tech and tell people how they work. I'm hoping to have some illustrations in there I can show how the valves and stuff go. So if somebody's interested, they can come by and take a look at it. But it is a neat little steam engine. Neat little steam engine. With that, that'll be a wrap, guys. Thanks for watching as always, and we'll catch you at Fab Tech if you're going to be there. Hope to see some folks, and if not, we'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching, guys.